Hello and welcome to the OFFGRID Podcast. I'm your host, Patrick, and today my guest leads hunting expeditions all around the world. Really cool guy, Caleb Stillians from Outfitter Services. Caleb, thank you for joining me. I always start off the show asking my guest about their origin story.
Mhm.
Let us know your journey of what got you to where you are now. How did you go to leading um, all these crazy, awesome hunting trips all over the place?
Well, a good piece of it is this stupidity and toughness, so that helps some. But if I
It's
go
a
way
lethal
back,
combination right there.
yeah, you just gotta get after it and stuff happens. But if I go way back, I grew up uh, in Alaska, born in Kansas City, Missouri, 0 to 2 in Missouri, and then 2 to 8 in Alaska, and that's where my love for the mountains happened. And then fast forward through all, the childhood stuff. In high school, I started shooting competitive archery and was fortunate to do really well at it. And one state, both years I did it. Went to nationals, did well in nationals, and then went to the world tournament. Ended up placing second in the world at the world tournament. And then all that happened is that got me a scholarship for archery in college. So I did that. I only did that for literally like a half a year because I got bored with it after a while. There's a bunch of nerds shooting bows, so I kind of got tired of it, to be honest. But what was good about it is that the assistant archery coach at the college daughter married an outfitter up in Alaska, and they pretty much said we need some young, dumb, strong kid to come work for free. And I was like, wait, I get to go hunt bears? Heck yeah! So that's kind of how that all started. Is I went up there and worked for like pretty much a whole year for free, and then ended up getting my guide's license after that, and then the rest of it's history. Just fell in love with it. I remember the very first day going out, I was with a guy named Corey, and we were driving this jet boat down the Chena, and there was a feeder, a feeder creek that you kind of put in at, and that goes into the main East Fork of the Chena. So we put the boat in, and we take off ripping, and it's right during breakup, so the water's high, and we came down, you going with the current, and then you bank around and you start going upstream. So as we're going down, we start the bank come around, and I look up, here comes an eagle flying across, like just like right above us, and then you have the mountains in the background, and the cold wind hits you in the face. I literally told Corey, I like, this is what I'm gonna do the rest of my life. So that's kind of how it all got started. Went up there, worked for free, and I just knew I loved it from the very first day going out. So just enjoy it.
Well, getting a scholarship for archery is pretty badass. Even if you claim it sounds nerdy, but you get a scholarship for something really nerdy, like some being good at like physics or something like that. But shooting stuff with bows and arrows, like you were so good at it, you got a college scholarship. That's pretty badass, I think.
Yeah, no, it was a ton of fun. Like I highly recommend people to do archery. For me, just my personality, I like to like get after it. And like high school was fun, right? But then I went to college for it, and I think what got me the most was two factors. One, there was people that I was way better at that also got a full ride for archery. So then that kind of cheapened my accomplishment in a way for high school because I was like, wait, I'm like 3 times better than this person. Like, no offense, like the numbers don't lie. Like the score is what the score is. How did they get the same scholarship? So that kind of pissed me off a bit. And then the other part of it is I'm an athlete. I like to run. I like to throw footballs, all that stuff. So we would go to these archery meets, and like I would take a football with me. It's like if we're gonna be here all day and only have like a 20-minute shooting window that all time slot is, it was like let's go play football, play around. But no one else wanted to do that. So I was like, this is so boring. You just gotta. It felt like it was track all over again. I was like, I don't want to. I don't like this. I want to go I want to go freaking have fun, guys. Like, come on.
You're wearing everybody out.
I guess.
So you grew up in Alaska. Oh, was it like in a town? Were you rural? Like,
Yeah, so it was out in Glen Allen. If you look at Alaska, it's not going to look very right, but you have
that's
the
pretty
Alaska
good, yeah.
Peninsula, southeast, and then the mainland. I grew up like right up here in what's called the Copper Valley. And it's just a cold hole. Like I remember being a kid and school wouldn't get canceled if it didn't hit 50 below. If it was 49 below, they're not going to cancel it. If it was 50 below, then they would cancel it. So it's just a cold valley. It had a lot of muskeg, permafrost. Uh, but it was fun. Like I remember growing up and playing broom ball, like where all the water would freeze over and you'd get out on the ice. And instead of playing hockey, so like, it's less like no, I wouldn't say dangerous because like no one's slapping a hockey puck. You would take brooms and you'd have a ball and you would just pretty much play hockey that way. So it was a little less dangerous for me being a little kid and ladies and stuff playing. So that was a ton of fun. Yeah, I loved it as a kid. So then when we moved back down to Missouri when I was 8. I was so mad. I was like, "What is this? There's fences everywhere. This sucks. There's no mountains. Like, what is happening?" So as soon as I got out of high school, I went back up because I liked it.
Nice. Yeah, that people take that broom ball pretty seriously. The college I went to in Upper Michigan, they actually had like a competitive broom ball. There was like teams, like it was really cold up in Upper Michigan. So
Oh
yeah,
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 it's
broom ball
fun,
was a
isn't
big
it?
thing. It was a big thing.
What's your best memory playing broom ball?
Well, I didn't. I was purely spectator
Okay.
because I have no athletic talent.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, man, like that was no joke. People took that pretty seriously. There's some big some big rivalries and stuff going on. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a ton of
if
fun. If you never got into any like type of winter sports, you gotta like go at least experience a couple times. If you never skied or snowboard, or gone out on the ice and ice skated and stuff like that, you've got to go out, plan a trip up north, out west, wherever it gets cold enough, and just go experience it. I have a lot of friends that are in Missouri that have never like skied, like or snowboarded or anything. I'm like, guys,
yeah,
you're missing out on a lot of fun. Like that stuff's fun. So just, I mean, I get it's expensive, so you can't go out and do it all the time, but go out and just go on the bunny slopes and at least experience it.
I don't know. Okay, so if you get your own gear, if you try to get all your own like skis and boots and stuff like that, it can add up pretty quick. But
Mhm.
I think most slopes have like rentals. I've rented downhill skis and stuff like that before, like just to get a taste for it. I don't
Oh
think you
yeah,
have
and
to.
you can buy stuff used too. Like the first time I went snowboarding, I went and just bought something off marketplace, and it didn't fit me right, but you make it work. So it's just like this, like you said, you can either do it that way, you can go buy like nice stuff, or you can just go rent something just to go experience it.
Heck yeah. Going back to growing up in Alaska. Now, I
Hmm.
don't know if this is going to be offensive to you or to anybody who grew up in Alaska or is from Alaska, but there's this show on Netflix now. I think it's Netflix called Alaskan Bush People.
Uh-huh.
Have you seen that at all?
I know of it. I'm not sure which one it is, because there's a lot of them. But no, most people, it's kind of funny. So here's a story, right? You go up to Alaska, and everyone in Alaska thinks everyone in the lower 48 is a bunch of sissies. And then you go to the lower 48, and everyone in the lower 48 thinks everyone in Alaska is like the Alaska Bush people, where they all kind of a little bit crazy. But neither
That's
one
where I
is.
was going with that.
Yeah, neither one is true. It's just like, because like you go anywhere, right? And this is what I tell people, like anywhere on this planet, whether it's Africa, Alaska, wherever, there's a mix of people, right? You're gonna have little crazy people that are over there, like, hey, those guys are a little out of their mind. And you're gonna have the super tough people. I'm like, Alaska's just like anywhere else. It has good people, it's crazy people, and has shitty people. And it's like that I haven't been anywhere on this planet, and I've been blessed to travel a lot, as of you have. I have not found one spot that has all good people. It's always a mixed pot. Like there's communities that have maybe more good people than other places, and then there's communities that have more bad people than other places. And then there's always that weird family that's out there in the bush doing something. Who knows what they're doing?
That's true. There's always a variety. Good, bad, and the ugly everywhere you go.
It is, yeah. It's like that Clint Eastwood movie. It's those people are everywhere.
Definitely, definitely. So, okay, tell me how you got into outfitter services. So this company that you have, it's kind of like a choose your own adventure of hunting and fishing trips, and you're the founder or you're the co-founder. How did you get started in all that?
Yeah, so I'm the founder of the company, but before we go to that, do you like watching that Alaska Bush People show? Like, you get some entertainment out of it? How does that
So
go?
I honestly I watched it out of just pure intrigue, right? And at the first couple episodes were kind of cool. Like they're like, hey, we're living in this place. We kind of got booted by the Forest Service or whoever. So now we got to go someplace and like start over, build our own cabin. It was really cool because they actually were by hand building a cabin. They were, bartering skills and supplies to get everything they needed to get it going. It was really interesting. And then I don't know, like things just kept kind of taking a turn for the worst for them, and
Hmm.
it started getting like a little too depressing for me to watch and follow along, and it became less about living in the bush and more about, to me, I felt like it was exploiting a family, that was going through a really rough time, for, viewers' sake. And I didn't get into that afterwards.
It's one thing that like I've never been a part of a reality TV, but I have had people that I know that have either been offered shows or have had some small role, have done shows, and it's like nothing. Most reality TV is nothing close to it's all manufactured drama and stuff
Mm.
that happens. It's just like they want that out of it's just so it's just when you watch those types of shows, you're not getting an accurate representation of what life in that particular area happens to actually be like. So that's just something to go into knowing that if you're watching, say one of say you're watching the Housewives of Southern California. Uh, Probably most
Right.
housewives don't act like that. I've never seen the show, but I'm just using it as an
I
example,
truly
right?
hope not.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Oh man, be a lot of
But
single dudes walking around.
honestly, I ain't putting up with that. I'd rather be single at that point.
Yep, yep.
But circling back to the outfit of services, so I was guiding, and I took a job working for this guy, and he just wasn't a very good outfitter. And so I ended up coming. I was sitting on the side of a hill coming,
Hey,
grizzly bear hunting.
but before
Uh-huh.
you go forward, just explain like the basic role of what an outfitter is.
Yeah, for sure. So an outfitter is if someone that provides the hunt and the gear that goes with it. So you will go and you want to go on we'll say an elk hunt. You have an outfitter and you have a guide. An outfitter has that land use area, has the permits with the state to operate in that area, and then provides you with the gear and then the guide to help you be successful on that hunt. So I'm a guide, and I was working for an outfitter, and he just wasn't a great outfitter by any means. So we're we're getting lucky. Like we were working real hard and still getting animals, but it was just without getting into the gory details. Like wasn't dropping off more food. Just I ended up being out there and killing five grizzly bears, one black bear, and one moose. It was like 28 days, so no shower. Half the time didn't have food. It was just like just craziness. I was in the same pair of pants because I was only supposed to be out there 7 days, so I only took one pair of pants. So I ended up doing all those hunts in one pair of pants. So time to end up like the pants could stand up on their own.
Or like Kevlar after that.
Yeah, it's just coated with bear blood, you know what I mean? So they didn't smell too good. But anyways, that's where the idea came from. Because like I want to create a platform where, because something I hear all the time as well is, well, I would love to go do that, trip or hunt or whatever it is, but I don't know where to start. So I wanted to create a platform where outfitters could get on there, and then clients could go shop around, look at different experiences, so they could, have a place to start. And then also, as time goes along, reputations will catch up with people, right? It's like kind of like Airbnb. There can be a crappy host on there, but eventually no one's going to want to stay at their house because they have 1 or 2 stars because it's awful. Same concept that we applied that they use to outfitter services, so we can uh, get reviews, all that for both the outfitter and the client. So then it's a win-win. And it just, it brings up like it's good to be a flashlight in the industry, right? We want excellence across the board, whether from the outfitter or the client. So that way it just raises the standard of, how you conduct yourself.
So, are you very selective about who gets added to your platform then?
No, no. So it wouldn't be scalable. If obviously if we know someone's not good, then we won't let them on there. We do like some like basic level Google searches. Hey, if everything on the internet is negative, they're probably not that great. But it's kind of like Airbnb, right? So if like someone has a house and they list the house, Airbnb doesn't physically go out there and check them. It's just like, okay, yeah, you can list your house, but if it's negative from other people getting on there, then the reputation goes down immediately. Because if like we're not the police of the industry, right? We're the platform that want to have a marketplace where people can come together. And then if someone's in that marketplace that is selling something that's not good, then everyone's gonna know about it, instantaneously. Because all it takes is 1 or 2 people to be like, hey, this guy is lying, terrible reviews, not a good trip. And then all of a sudden they not removed from the marketplace, but no one in their right mind is gonna go with him, right? If you're looking at an elk hunt and you have one guy that has 5 positive reviews, hey, this was an awesome experience. You have another guy that has five, negative or so reviews. The guy that's put in the time, put in the work to be really good is gonna rise to the top and get all the bookings.
Just kind of let the market take care of itself then.
Exactly. Yeah, making it free enterprise because what our industries lagging in tech. So that this one guy, for example, it wasn't like he had one bad year. Like, when you start getting in, it's like he's just not good. Like he just doesn't care about people. He just, he's just I don't know, but like he's just an interesting human being, not in the good way. So it's like, well, this guy's been operating for 15 years and no, because there's new people coming in, right? And there's not a central spot. So this guy's at all the big hunting shows. So basically, it's just like, there's a new sucker for every year, and he stayed in business that way. Well, now if you have a platform where, those, instead of them being suckered in because he's actually pretty decent at marketing. So instead of just walking in there and booking a hunt based off of a nice booth and him promising you the sky and the moon, you can be like, okay, let's actually look at this guy and look up. If he was on the platform, which he won't be on the platform, you could tell this guy, he's talking the talk, but all the people that have been with him in the past through this platform say what he's saying isn't true, then you can make an educated buying decision. You can think of it like you're shopping for a knife, right? There's a new knife that looks super sweet that's on Amazon, but it's got 2 reviews because it's made out of brittle Chinese steel and everything's breaking. You probably don't want that knife.
Right on. And so, okay, you have this platform, but you also lead people on hunts and trips like that, correct?
Yeah, I'm a guide, so I'm not an outfitter. So I work with some phenomenal outfitters across the state of Alaska. I do some stuff in Africa as well. So yeah, I take people out on trips, but I'm not the outfitter. So like we'll go out and I'll sometime back in the day I would spend like 4 months, nonstop hunting, which is fun. I'm gonna year and a half I haven't spent as much time. I think I've spent like 2 months out total time. out hunting. This year, I'm gonna bump it up a bit and probably do about 3.5 to 4 months. Yeah, but I love it. There's nothing like taking someone that's dreamt about killing a mountain goat, a doll sheep, a bear, whatever it happens to be, and helping them accomplish that. And using that skill set, that knowledge, expertise. It's kind of fun when you have an old guy that's has a business or whatever. He's used to being the boss, and he wants to go do something, and you're like, no, that's a stupid idea. He's like, oh no, I don't do it. Like one story that comes to mind is we're up above the Arctic Circle in the Brooks Range. We're glassing, like, hunting caribou, and these caribou on the other side of these glacier rivers, and I'm sitting there, and I glass down. I look at the glacier rivers, and we're probably about 800 yards from the glacier river, and the caribou's probably a mile and a half away from us. And I can tell through my binos, we're not crossing that. Like, it's a no go. Well, the guy that's with me, he's successful, has his own company, and this is the very beginning of the trip, and we got two caribou to hunt, and then a doll sheep. He's like, I think we should go cross that river. I'm like, it's a bad idea. I think we should go. And he keeps asking, so I'm like, well, we just need to nip this in the bud now because this is day one of a 12-day hunt. So I was like, sure, we can go try. So it splits out in fingers, right? The first one, I know we can get across it, but it's gonna suck. The second one is like a maybe, like, probably shouldn't even try. And then the third one is absolutely not, like, you're gonna get swept away. It's not crossable. It's at least head deep. Because after you look at that blue enough, you can't see the bottom, but you can kind of start to recognize, hey, that's pretty deep and ripping through there. And then the fourth one, I think we could have got across no problem. But so we went down there. Anyway, I've crossed lots of those things. So I just pull off, um, bust across the creek, and I'm sitting there waiting while he's getting his shoes off, his stuff. And he starts across, and he makes like 4 steps in it because it's ripping, like it's about belly button deep, right? And I'm sitting there waiting on the other side. I'm like, this is not gonna go good. Please don't fall in. But he makes it like 3 steps, 4 steps into it, and it's tight as whiteys, and it's getting right about ball deep. And as soon as that water hits him in the balls, he pushes it back a little bit because it's ripping hard, right? And then he walks back the other way, and I just truck back across to get on that side, and he's like, "Yeah, I think you're right." I'm like, "Yeah," and this was the easy one, what I mean? Like this, then yeah, the second one over, like there's no way. So then that was it, right? So as a guide, you gotta understand, like, how to, like, walk people, right? Because if I was like, no, we're not doing it, then he would have thought I was just being a sissy and second guessing me the entire trip. Well, I'm like, this is a bad idea, but I'll let him find out that I was right. You got to be able to, like, you know know personalities and figure that out on the fly. So that was a ton of fun.
Yeah, sometimes you got to give people enough rope to hang themselves with.
Yeah, enough to choke themselves, but not enough to die. You know what I mean? You gotta find that balance.
Just a wake up call. Well, okay. So, like, what do you go hunting for in Africa? Talk to me about
So
some of those trips.
yeah, no, for sure. So Africa, do a lot of like kudu, Cape Buffalo, plains game, uh, just stuff like that. South Africa, mainly as of right now. I want to start getting into farther up north. So we'll go, you fly in up Port Elizabeth, and then you go up, and then we hunt the Karoo mountain range, and then go down to around Grahamstown, which is, closer to the coast. So it's two different environments. That's the fun thing about, you think of Africa, you kind of have a picture in mind of this flat, you know, plains, grassy type landscape. Well, it's just like, North America, right? You have mountains, you have deserts, you have high deserts, you have grassy plains. It's exactly over there. So you get over there, and, like, the Crew Mountain Range is like a high desert. And if you've ever spent any time in, like, a southern Idaho, it's very similar to that. So you're in this high desert, about 7, 8,000 feet above sea level, and then it's in the summertime it's 120 degrees, in the wintertime it gets, it might snow. And then you go down towards the coast and all of a sudden it's would be similar to probably Southern California, along the coast, similar landscape to that. So you get over there and there's a lot of different landscapes to do it. Some of the same animals in both places and some different animals. So it's unique. So the hunting in Alaska, in my opinion, well, is way more wild. But the people and the situations you got to deal with it with people wise is way more wild in Africa. So it's like in Alaska, the wilderness and the animals you're probably more likely to die from and flying and all that stuff. People is not really the problem. In Africa, South Africa, it's the opposite. Like a Cape
Can
Buffalo
you
can get you, but
can you dive into that a little bit deeper? Because there's a lot of things. So our news is really hyperbolic, and when you hear about South Africa, you hear about apartheid and these like kind of almost race war things that are going on over there. Um, can you clear that fog a little bit for us about you talk about people interactions and stuff like that. What's it like just going over there and before stepping out on a hunt, just mingling with society?
yeah, for sure. So like the stuff you've heard, a lot of it's probably true. So on both ways. So like if you th if you someone from America and you think America has racism in it, you have no idea until you traveled other countries. Like there's times I've been in and it goes both ways, right? There's incredible racism against whites, and there's also w whites that are incredibly racist against blacks in that country. And then there's also different segments of blacks that are racist against one another. Like it's a broken system, and hopefully they can turn it around. So when it comes to experiences when you're over there, you got to watch your back a lot because like I can think of a couple towns that I went through going up through the Crew Mountain Range that you there and like everyone's looking at you like a predator. You know what I mean? Like it's different. So you got to watch your back. But there's good people like everywhere because then like you get out of those, type of whatever's going on in that community that's just extremely negative. You're on hyper alert. You think you're next to a bear. Like these people might try to get me. But then you go out to the hunting ranch and then you meet phenomenal people that that have your back, that's helping you carry animals out and move stuff around. So it's a unique problem in South Africa that that hopefully they can overcome this racial divide that they have there because it's it's not the color of your skin that makes you different. It's your mindset, right? It's what you adopt. And there's some white people over there that I would never associate with just because how they view other people. But vice versa, when I was going through that one town in particular, I'm like, these people, if they had the opportunity, they would kill me right now, like 100%. Like, I'm glad I have a gun because if not, if I was just hitchhiking through here, like, who knows what would happen type of a deal.
It's that serious, huh?
Yeah, no, for sure. Especially, it's just like it, you got to know what places not to go, and what places to keep moving through, and just keep driving, and make sure you have gas to keep driving to those places. I'm not trying to scare people because if you have someone that knows what they're going on, you just stay out of those areas. You know what I mean? If you got to drive through that town, you just keep driving. Um, so stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's just there was for sure a real issue back with, I believe it was 1994, before the apartheid was over, or however that worked. I'm not super studied up, but it happened in 1994. And then the new government took over. But it's such a complex situation over there that what needs to happen instead of, and this is from American speaking, so if you're South African, forgive me because I might be ignorant in it. But what needs to happen is the people over there need to stop looking at this person's white, that person's black, and look at like who wants to move this country forward together. You know what I mean? I think that's starting to happen. And it's a small segment of it. So hopefully that can just keep picking up steam. And then there's also different like South Africa as a country, but then there's also different like pieces of it, kind of like states, right? Like America. So you have like the Eastern Cape, you have Limpopo, you have all these different pieces, the Free State, all these different segments of South Africa that breaks it up. And it's yeah, it's a true place. Definitely go over there. It's an eye opener. They have these spots. What do they call them? Settlements. And you go by, and it's like think about little 6x6 shacks, and thousands of people living in those 6x6 shacks, and no sewer system. So like I remember one time we were driving through, and it's one of these settlements, and it's all up on this hill. It's like this whole hillside's covered. Like it's got to be, I could be wrong, but looking at it, at least 50,000 people living up there. And then like we're driving down the highway, and it looks like we're driving in a swamp, right? Like there's a road, and on either side of the road, like it looks like a swamp. And the guy that's driving said, "Yeah, this used to not be a swamp. So what caused it was all the sewage running down there, right? Because there's
Mm.
no sewer system. So that if you went off in that, all that's piss and shit and all that stuff that's running down to that bottom. So it's a unique situation, and definitely get over there, experience it. It's a ton of fun hunting. Make sure you go with the right person that's going to keep you out of the sketchy situations. But it really opens your eyes to how freaking great America is. And I'm sure you've been places where you're like, holy crap, like when in your military career and your traveling career, and it just puts things in perspective when you hear people bitching about America. It's just like, guys, shut the fuck up because you have no idea. You know what I mean? Like it's for real.
I think it's safe to say that you and I we're not going to solve society's problems today on the podcast, but I think you're right. The more you travel, the better your understanding, the better your perspective, and I think that's a really important thing for everybody to do. Which is why I think it's like super cool that you have what you have going on because that gives people a place to start at least. Even if it's for a hunt, it still gets you into new locations and you know seeing new cultures, and I think that's phenomenal. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, and
um
something that's interesting over there is like I had no idea that like the voodoo stuff is big in South Africa and some of those
mm,
places, which is a totally different scenario. Like you hear stories from some of the what they call trackers. So you have your PH professional hunter, and then you have your tracker, which is like a local native guy. Uh, and then I get along with everyone, so I'm sitting there striking up conversation with the local people that are cleaning the houses. Like I want to know everyone. Like, what's your guys' story? And then you start hearing stories of like the voodoo stuff that's happening in like say Graffinet or these other different places, and it's just crazy, like cannibalism using like stuff like it's nuts. Like I don't know.
have you seen any of that in action, like
I
somebody?
didn't know.
No.
No, no. I think that, but just hearing the lesson they were just trying to like scare me a little bit, which I don't think they will. It's just like there's that voodoo stuff is interesting. Have you seen any of it in action, or what's that like?
So I used to be stationed in Louisiana, and New Orleans used to be a, I think, a French penal colony, if I'm not mistaken. And a lot of the islands in the Caribbean were penal colonies, right?
Hmm.
And when slaves were brought over, a lot of times they were kept in those places. And I know that voodoo was used, not only as for its intended purpose, but it was also used to freak out the people who were bringing them there, right? So in New Orleans, because of that history, like you can go down and visit like a voodoo shop, right? They've got those things and I don't know how much it's practiced, and I don't know how seriously it's taken, but I mean that's something that's like come with and been brought over, to the States. So that's my experience with it. I know that's why, you can still find some of that stuff happening here. It's interesting to hear that it's still going on over in Africa though, like on a like is it pretty common, or is it kind of like a taboo thing?
I think it's pretty common from the vibe that I got. Like, yeah, the place that I told you about that was super sketchy. They said there's a lot of it happening there, and then there's a place called Graffinet that they said some of it happens there. But Graffinet's a town that's up as you go into the Crew Mountain Range, and like we ended up going. And what was kind of fun is some of the animals that I killed, we ended up taking it to a soup kitchen, and then passing it out to like a whole bunch of kids in the community, and then they had other people come in, and it was fun because we fed like 500 people with the animals that we killed and had this big soup kitchen day. So that was
Nice.
neat. But but yeah, like I heard stories from the lady that was a housekeeper of like, like saying like kids sometimes go missing and stuff like that, and that's what they
Whoa.
attribute it to. And so it's just like this, it's common enough that, it got brought up, per se, and like not like it wasn't like, hey, I heard this. It was like, yeah, you got to be careful around there because this and this and this happens because they, like Christianity is also a thing over there. So it's like you hear like, yeah, you gotta watch out because like the devil's what like they're talking about it. So it's common enough to be a thing. And I hear Haiti is bad. I've never been to Haiti, but I have several friends that go to Haiti. But I hear Haiti's got a lot of like voodoo stuff and with it, which you mentioned the Caribbean area. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, and you hear some freaky stories. Like I've had some people that I trust that built successful businesses tell me stories from Haiti and stuff, and you look at them like, are you a bit crazy? Because like how wild like some of the stuff that they've seen has been. Luckily, I haven't seen it. I don't particularly want to see anything, but if I could avoid that
I
crap,
don't
I'd
know. See,
like to.
I'm kind of curious. Like, I don't maybe like want to see something terrible to happening. Like, I don't want to see somebody kidnap a kid and use him for like a
Yeah, I'd
voodoo
shoot him.
ritual or anything like that.
Yeah, I'd end up starting a war. I'd be like, nope,
But
that ain't happening
I like
today.
I'm a little bit fascinated. Like, I wonder. I'm gonna have to look into it a little bit and uh, get caught up on it because that's interesting. I don't know. I'm interested in weird stuff, but no, I think that's kind of. Is there anything? Are there any like signs or things people use or put up that you could point to and say, hey, there's some voodoo going on here?
I don't know enough about it to answer that question. I'm sure I could, ask people in that area that
That's
would
not really
know.
what you're going to Africa for.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that why I brought it up is because it's something I didn't expect. You know what I mean? I
Mm.
did not expect it. So hearing about it from the people that live there, that it's a problem was kind of like a shocker. And another problem that I didn't know before I started going over there is that, you hear people in America talk about how the unemployment's a problem and it's like, 3, 4%. The unemployment in South Africa is like 60%. And
Whoa.
and in that graph in that area, it's closer to 80% the unemployment is. So it's insane, and that's one of the arguments that I've actually that it's really strong for positive for hunting, why we should continue hunting in South Africa, is because of how many jobs that it provides that already jobless landscape. So it's like if you're an anti-hunter and you're saying we need to stop hunting in South Africa, well, it's not like those jobs go away and those families just go find different jobs, kind of like how America is. It's like, no, if you say that, like where we do hunts at, they probably employ between the two places probably about 40 locals. So you got to imagine that each local family supports probably like 8 people because you have grandparents and all that stuff that kind of tie into that. So you're 40 times 8, and then you look at the taxidermy shop there in Graffinet. They employ 100 people, so 100 times 8, so you have 800. But right around 1,000 people just from that taxidermy place, and then the two ranches that we use. So it's like if you saying, "Hey, we got to stop hunting in South Africa, you're also saying for nearly 1,000 people to not have food anymore. You know what I mean? Like all those kids no longer have food. So it's just like it's a very like not only is it a rational argument to use against anti-hunting, it's also an emotional argument to use against anti-hunting because it puts it into a whole new light of yeah, if you stop that, there's no other jobs for them to go get. Like they done.
And how you were saying earlier about how you went on a hunt and then you brought the meat to a soup kitchen and fed, 500 people from the local town. Like that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was the highlight of my last trip that we went and did because I've hunted enough stuff that um honestly, it's got to be like something that can kill me to get me like my adrenaline going a lot. Like now I can just, go hunt something. It's like, oh, yeah, that's cool. That was fun. Happy I got that animal. But it's not like, oh, I got that. So, but being able to take those animals that I just got and then go take it and then feed, like literally, this line was a long line that had to bend around and go along the side of the road. I was honestly a little bit worried because there's all these little kids like playing around and these cars going down the road. I'm like, it's kind of wild. But feeding all those kids, that was pretty neat, and it just it opens up your eyes to perspective too, because like the kids had to bring their own like dishes to put the meat soup, and so you had rice, and then you had like a big stew that they made out of the meat, and like some of the bowls that were, you try to wipe them out and stuff, but they're nastier than dog bowls. You know what I mean? Like this nasty, bowl that looked like got picked out of the ditch type of a deal. So it's just a different level of you know, poverty over there. So it's unique to see, and it was really rewarding to do that hunt. And that's how they put on that soup kitchen, right? Is from hunters donating the meat to that soup kitchen, so that helps feed all those people. So that's another good positive aspect of hunting. And Frank Gentry. And Robane over there, they own the taxidermy shop, and they do a lot for that community. They're the people that employ about 100 people in their taxidermy studio. They do like Christmas baskets for the community. They help support that soup kitchen. I was only there for a day, but they're there all the time, and they constantly, you know, helping push that with the hunting industry that comes through that supports their business and supports that community.
When it comes to the wildlife that's out there, how abundant is it? I mean, you'd think like, the buffalo or, these other sources of food. I mean, is there just a ton of it out there? Is it kind of scarce? What's the
No, there's
situation?
a ton of it out there. So it's again, that's why I was like it's way different than Alaska, right? Because Alaska, hunting in a spot and you're hunting it just like it was 10,000 years ago, right? Maybe there's no mammoths anymore, but altogether it's pretty much the same, or it is the same. Well, Africa, or South Africa is, it's all people own the land, right? So what happens is you have these huge stretches of land, like 15,000 acres, and then they manage that wildlife on that ranch. So it's different than like, hey, we're gonna go fly out and be in this totally middle of nowhere that nothing's ever touched it. It's a managed ranch. They take care of the animals. They bring in new animals if they need to. They mix up the gene pool. So
Mm.
that's another argument for hunting, because if you like anti-hunter and you want to stop hunting, well then if I'm a landowner, why would I keep all these worthless animals now? Because it's like now they won't bring me any income, and I got to pay for this land. I got to still pay taxes. I got to do all this stuff. So then they're gonna be like, well, I guess we're gonna put cattle on here or sheep or whatever game animals they can, because these native animals are not making us any money, and we gotta keep the lights on at the end of the day. So then you would have a lot of animals get destroyed and not took looked after, and they would just end up going extinct in that country because can't hunt them. There's not really any value to them. So
I,
that's
I
kind of how that looks.
I think that's what people who are alarmists when it comes to hunting. I think whenever you say hunting in Africa in the same sentence, they immediately jump to, oh, you're going to go out there and kill the Lion King and all of his giraffe and rhinoceros buddies and his elephant friends. Um, and those are what you're talking about, like the protected species, right? Those
Yeah,
aren't the
well,
ones that
you can hunt lions, and that's usually a question that I throw back at people is if they like against hunting lions. It's like, well, why are you? And I want to hear the rational argument because it's not, it can't just be because, well, I watched The Lion King and lions are cool. It's just like, well, what if there's an overpopulation of them? And what if there's a lion that's causing problems and stalking people and killing game? And you saw, like, okay, there's a guy and he only has 20 cows in this area. And this lion is decimating his 20 cows. And if he doesn't have any cows at the end of the year, guess what? His family now starves. Now they starve. So wouldn't it be better to sell that lion hunt for $100,000 that brings all that income into the area? Like that's $100,000 over there. Like the conversion rate from South African to American is, I believe it's right about 19 to 1. So $100,000 would be like, a million point nine, 1,900,000. I think if I did that conversion right. So like that's a ton of money into that community that now like props it up, and then now that guy still has his cows, and the rest of the lions are still good, and now the government can use that money to if the government's not corrupt, now can use that money that they got from that hunt to do conservation if the government's doing what it should do, which in some places it does, in some places it doesn't.
That's such a good point because I don't know how many people realize that here in the States, people who own farmland and livestock are allowed to hunt predators that prey on their way of life, their means of, uh, uh, putting food on the table. So like here it's like coyotes and wolves and whatever. We don't have anything like a super giant predator like a lion. So it's uh, that sort of thing happens everywhere, not just over there. But maybe lions just get all the attention because they're just so freaking huge.
Well, they get a lot of attention. I mean, you can look at it from like the Lion King, right? I mean, you could ask who in America and in Europe, which is usually who drives like these conversations, right? Is Europe and America. Who hasn't watched Lion King? And I'm guessing that number is like very, very low. I mean, I've watched Lion Kings, and it makes you view this lion as a human, right? Oh my gosh, you're hunting a human. Like, Simba has a personality. Simba's this, Simba's that. And I want to keep lions around for forever. It actually breaks my heart that that in Africa, like in South Africa, excuse me, there's not wild lions. Like, how cool would it be to go hunt a wild lion in South Africa? So, anti-hunters or people that are on the fence have got to understand is that hunters are paying for all the conservation, and yet do we hunt an animal? And does it seem like it's in a way hypocritical to say I love an animal, but then I'm gonna go kill it? It kind of is counterintuitive, but the fact is that we do like it. Like I want animals to be out there. I'm glad that there's getting to be grizzly bears back in Montana. Now, do I think they should probably delist them at some point soon? They get some tags going, not kill them all, just get some of them. Yes, like you know what I mean. Like we want that to happen because then that feeds that machine because nothing's free. Everything takes resources. Let's feed this machine to keep the appropriate amount of animals in places so that way we can continue to have these animals here and pass down. And something I like to point out, and yes, I 100% disagree with the mass hunting for an industry that happened in like the 1800s where the buffalo got wiped out and all these things got wiped out. That is not a good thing. We can all agree to that. But that's not what we're doing now. We are hunting off the North American model where we know roughly how many species of each animal is in this given area. And that means we only have a lot of amount of tags for those animals. So we're not going to wipe them out. If anything, we're going to help that species because now we can kind of keep that sustainability level there because there's only so much food, so on and so on. So it's something that we should continue to do because if you look back 1,000 years ago plus, how many animals went extinct that had nothing to do with humans. You know what I mean? Like now we as a creature that can think into the future, right? Because of, for whatever reason we have that ability. Now we can try to keep that from happening because now we have, we have information now. So it's, if anything, we should lean more into that and like, hey, how do we, continue the hunt, but make sure nothing, no more is taken than it needs to be. And also it doesn't go, well, overpopulates and then you have a mass die off because there's no more vegetation, no more food out there for that game.
Have you noticed a decline in people who are interested in hunting over the years?
So it's an interesting question because if you look at Instagram, I would say no. I would think more people are getting into it. But if you look at the total number of tags and licensing being bought, it's gone down. So that's what it's like. I don't. I would say yes, it has gone down, maybe, even though it feels like it's growing. So, because the industry feels like it's growing, right? But then the total number of people actually buying a tag to go hunt has dropped. Uh, so I don't know. I don't know how to answer that because I was looking at that over Christmas. That yeah, since the '80s, it's lost a decent amount, but yet you feel like it's growing because there's new people getting in the industry all the time.
People getting in the industry, making new products, or people getting into hunting, like actually going
Like
out?
uh, both because like um if you think if there's people making new products and businesses are growing, there's got to be a consumer there to buy that product and growth. So I would say that's happening. I'm sure you've noticed that as well. Is that it seems like the industry is growing anyways. So there's got to be people buying the product. Um, but then just based off of that metric of that there's fewer licensings being bought, it looks like it could be shrinking. Which either way, I think I don't think we should be worried. I think we should be focusing on our as a hunting community a PR message, right? What are we saying? Because we shouldn't be the guy that's just I shouldn't say what other people shouldn't do, but in my opinion, the
No,
best
tell them
way
what
to
to do.
yeah, yeah. Well, we've gotten so afraid of I'm not a trophy hunter, I just harvest stuff. It's like we've gotten so afraid of the pushback that we no longer like you've got to be able to articulate your argument of like, well, I am a trophy hunter, and here's why. And here's why trophy hunting actually helps the population as a whole, because you're looking for the oldest animal. And yes, we should get away from killing just the biggest, because the biggest, like I'll use sheep for example. There's a sheep up there behind. Oops, sheep. Sorry, there's a sheep up there behind me. I love sheep hunting. Um, you might have an 8-year-old that's gonna score really high, right? Doesn't mean you should take that 8-year-old. If there was a 12-year-old that's double bloomed, that's not going to score as high. But in an educated hunter's mind, and it's a fact, that 12-year-old is more of a trophy because he think about it. It's going to be terrible to say, but he's a grandpa, right? He's over the hill. He's not making any more babies. He's done. That's the animal to take. That's the trophy. And it's okay to say, like, yeah, I'm trophy hunting. That animal's the right animal to take. Versus that 8-year-old that's in his prime. He's the guy that's running around, popping out babies like a son of a gun. So that's the way that we should educate people, uh, and not be, I think we've gotten a bit too passive. Um, and like say like during the 2000s, we got afraid of people saying, "Oh, you're a trophy hunter," and then we backed away from that a bit, like, "Oh, I only hunt to eat meat." Well, then um, that allows people to put in legislation of, this is like I'm trying to think of. There was just one that went by not too long ago that was outlawing trophy hunting, right? Well, what's a trophy? What's that? So instead of like saying, "No, I'm not a trophy hunter. I only hunt for meat," we should say like what we are, and then educate that public. all the public of what that actually means and stick by it and not shoot the buck that's in its prime when we could shoot the old one that's the right one to shoot.
And I think if you're buying a hunting license for whatever species that's being managed, I don't think it should matter if it's for food or trophy or whatever. You bought a license and you paid for that. You're doing what you're playing by the rules, right? So what does it even matter? What you're hunting for. You got a license to do it. I
Yeah,
don't know.
100%.
I don't I get a little defensive, when like I shouldn't have to explain myself because someone's freaking out about whatever, if I'm
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. But we got to be careful of getting the defensive, and here's the reason why. Because like the crazy person that's attacking us, we're probably not going to change their mind. But if we lay out a rational, well thought out argument, so like if I get someone saying, "Hey, you know, how dare you hunt, you freaking mortal, or I hope your kids die." Every now and then I get a comment like that on Instagram or something along those lines. It's kind of nasty, a very nasty comment. And I have something saved in my notes, which is my reply to like comments like that. And all it is it talks about like, hey, I've been hunting since I was 12. There's a thing called in the United States the Pittman-Robertson Act. It's like 11% tax that is on all sporting goods, firearms related. I started hunting to now. I've spent somewhere around 225, $250,000 if I actually add up all the stuff on hunting related products and firearms related products. So that means myself alone has contributed 27, like around 25 to $27,000 to conservation. So if you haven't signed a check for $27,000 to actually support what you're arguing for, you don't have much of a leg to stand on, and you should reconsider your argument. And then leave it like that, because that person, no one in the rational mind is going to say, "I hope you die. I hope your kids die. You mortal." But what is going to happen is the silent majority of someone that's sitting on the fence that don't know if they're for hunting. Maybe that should happen. Maybe it shouldn't be allowed is going to come along and read if it's on social media or maybe it's a public setting. But anybody that's kind of seen what's going on, right, is going to come along and be like, wow, that person that's anti-hunting just wish that guy to die and his family to die. Like that's fucking crazy. And he responded with a rational, well thought out argument that made sense. If that ever comes up on the ballot, I guess what's stuck in their mind if they see anything about hunting is like, that one guy that hunted sounded pretty cool, knew what he was talking about. That one person that was anti-hunting was nuts. You know what I mean? Like we can't let ourselves be emotionally charged. Um, Even though I get it. Like you do want to get defensive, um, because I don't like anybody telling me what to do. Like my natural instinct is, oh, you tell me what to do, I'm gonna punch you in the face. But we gotta understand how other people are viewing it as well, because I think that's how we, win the narrative.
that's a really good strategy. Cold cool logic. Do you get attacked like that a lot?
Not a lot. If I have a post that like goes, viral or whatever, then I get like stuff like that. Uh, yeah. So sometimes just whenever something goes out and goes viral and all that stuff, you get, uh, mixed bag of feedback, as I'm sure you guys probably do. If something firearm related gets out there and goes viral, and you have 300,000 people see a post, some of those 300,000 people are probably going to be a bit, um, disagree with you.
Yeah, well, we've got a pretty good community online, and if we post something that somebody doesn't like, I we here at Off Grid, we wouldn't really have to step in and like there's our communities has our backs, so it's really good. It almost never happens.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, funny you bring that up. Is I had one post go viral. This is, I don't know, probably 8 months, 10 months ago. Um, and I had people attacking me, and then I had the people that were on my side attacking those people that were attacking me. But then I felt the need to be like, because like you get the notifications. And so I actually felt the need to calm, like the chime into that and tell the person that was defending me, like, dude, like you falling into the same rabbit hole that they were into. Like, don't tell them meet me at this gas station, I'll kick your ass. Like, yeah, probably you're gonna kick their ass for sure. But it's not worth your time, and like why let this other person emotionally charge you like that? Because you're clearly a good dude. Like the guy I'm thinking of in the top of my mind was like a military guy that was full hunting, and this one person was like saying some nasty stuff, and this guy was jumping on my side, but then it all got personal. Like, dude, just fuck that person. Like, you know what I mean? Like, seriously, like, who cares? Who cares what they think? Like, like the less, and it's easy to say and it's harder to do, but don't let people control your emotional state. Because if you do that, then you're not in control anymore. Like even if that person said an insult, like verbally, physically is something different. Like you don't want people push you around, but if someone's like just trying to push you around verbally, fuck them. Who cares? Like I actually I get a little bit of enjoyment because I drive a lot. I have a lot of windshield time. Uh, is like if someone's got like road rage at me, and I'm not, like sometimes I don't even know why. Um, like they flipping me off, cussing, honking the horn, doing whatever, or say at a stoplight, and I'm just kind of over there giggling a little bit because it's like, you stupid, man. Like, hey, yeah, you're just stupid. Like, who cares? Like, you go about your day, that way. But sometimes I do get mad, but most of the time it's just kind of comical because you're like, wow, that poor
I,
person.
I'm I'm in the same boat because man, I don't think people realize just how ridiculous they look when they're acting like that. A saying that I've always liked was a wise decision was never made in anger.
Mm-hmm.
So
100%. Who said
uh,
that?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know who to attribute that to. Maybe it's something I read once a long time ago, but it's always stuck in my brain.
It's a great saying because it's 100%, accurate. It's like whenever you're emotionally charged, it's just it doesn't help the situation at all. Like my fiance, I'm trying to think of a good scenario would be as if something bad is happening, right? Say well, we just got a bunch of snow, so the car was sliding a little bit. So she would be like, going, does it help anything? You know what I mean? It's
Don't
like,
get yourself in trouble here, Caleb.
well, no, I'm not. Like if you can teach yourself, because it's a skill, right? It's a skill set, just like anything else. If you can teach yourself to look at what's happening and then have a course of action, then that help situation versus something's happening. I having that emotional reaction is only going to hurt you if if it's actually a bad situation. You know what I mean? Like if it's say a bear's charging you, right? Like, because it does happen if you hunt in Alaska enough, you're gonna have a bear charge you. If that's happening and your response is that could be your time to respond. So you got to learn to train that out of your mind and be like, what's your course of action?
The problem with that is, you can only train that out of your mind by being exposed to those situations, more than once and, trying to learn from the previous one and apply it to the next one.
Hmm.
So, maybe the first bear attack, you're like, and then you get mauled a little bit. And then the second bear attack, you're like, okay, this time, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to
Well,
do something
like
else.
kind of. I mean, you can do it without. You don't have to get bear attacked. Like a good one would be like I do MMA a lot. I fight a lot, and it's just like if you see someone throwing a punch and you go guess what? You just got punched in the face. Versus you see someone throwing a punch, you slip and do your feet walk and step off and create a new angle and then fight back. So you can train that out without having that worst case scenario. It's just like in your military background in a gunfight, right? If the first time you try to walk out that, if you have that fight, flight, or freeze, say you just naturally, maybe this wouldn't be the good job for you, but if naturally you might have a little bit of a freeze period, the first time you try to get rid of that is in a gunfight, you're probably dead. Or a bear attacking you, you're probably dead. So if that's the angle of life you're gonna go down, you can start the natural. My natural response is a fight, but you could, I think I could be wrong, but because like I used to freeze a little bit, right? You first time you walk into the gym, someone throws a punch, you flinch and you close your eyes and get hit in the face. Well, now after 7 years of training, someone throws a punch, I slip and I punch them back. You know what I mean? That's just big deal. So if you can get those skill sets from other aspects of life and then apply them to, what's going on in different places, in my opinion.
You're not wrong. And actually, we're talking about bears. This might be a good segue into a question I've been wanting to ask you. Um, there are some giant bears up
Hmm.
in Alaska. I've seen photos of you with some pretty. I mean, they look like tractors.
Yeah, big old
Um,
bastards.
yeah. What is it like hunting one of those? Like what? Okay, let's start there. What's it like hunting? And then I want to know what is just the craziest bear situation you've ever been in.
Okay, yeah. So hunting wise, it's the awesomest hunt ever because you got to be on your A game. So I'll think of like a hunting story and kind of tell that story. So then it's um so we're hunting these bears. We in the peninsula, so the Alaska Peninsula. We just had like 7 days of nasty ass rain. Like it was the worst, terrible storm. Pouring down as hard, whatever the hardest rain you've been in. Think about that for like 7 days. So that's what we've been doing with, still trying to hunt. Like the 6th day of that 7th day, I'm sleeping in a tent, and all of a sudden everything starts shaking. So I grab my 10 millimeter. I'm not even awake yet. Finally, I like come to my senses. Cause like that's my biggest fear is like you sleeping and a bear comes and gets you in the tent, right? Because you're sleeping, you can't, it's it's something that that's the scariest thing. Cause if I'm awake, I'm betting on me. If I'm asleep, I don't know. It's 50-50. So anyways, I like trying to, is it a bear? And if so, I'm about to pop it in the face. Uh, but finally, like, it's that, it seems like a long time, but really it was like splits of a second, 2 seconds. Finally, my conscious takes over, right? Instead of being in this sleep state, I'm awake. It's an earthquake. It's like a 6.7, 6.9 earthquake, with like 36 miles off from the epicenter. Just it took it kicked off like just on the south side of Kodiak, and then we were on the peninsula. So you're hearing all these walk slides coming down the mountain. It was pretty wild. And then you're like stressed out about a tsunami happening, right? So you're like worried about that. Luckily the wave of the tsunami was only 2 feet, so I think it was smaller than the shove coming in. But so you're worried about that. Get up the next morning, everything is wet. You're like, what the heck happened? Um, let's go back to bear hunting, right? I guess that's over with. We walked back to our glassy knob that was up on this mountain. Anyways, we were roll glassing at, all slid down. So good thing that it was like a huge, like that whole piece of the mountain just slid down. So it's like that
Oh, man.
earthquake kicked off 8 hours earlier when we were sitting there on that glassy knob. You might not be talking to me. I might be buried somewhere. Anyways, nothing's happening in this area. I call in the outfitter. Hey, um, AAA outfit. Brent. Hey Brent. Can we move? Like the spots, it's just time for a new spot. I don't like the spot. 'Cause it's been, several days. So planes come in, fly in, land. That was a fucking wild earthquake, eh? Yeah, that was crazy. So we all hop in the plane. It's only a two-seater plane, so I get flown out. I get dropped off in this new area, which is an awesome area, and on the beach. And then the salmon are like spawning out. Like that was the problem with the other area. There wasn't that many salmon in the river anymore. And there's like
Mm.
this there's no bears here because there's not that much salmon here. Like, there's just little pockets here and there. So we had small bears coming in, but no like big daddies. So we get moved to this other area that's like packed with salmon. Like it's like everything smells like rotten salmon. There's so many salmon in there. So grab the stuff, we cross this creek, go up, and I didn't want to camp down low, right? Because that's where all the bears are going. So once we get off this riverbed and get up on this hill. So I moved the camp up probably about 60 yards up the mountain, and then I find this little spot that kind of like flattens a little bit where we can set camp at. Because bears are going to be walking back and forth all night, and I really don't want to be having them walk by me. Uh, so that first morning, we wake up, the client comes in, we get camp set up. We wake up, and then we hear this like big guttural gallop. Like, oh, what the hell is that? So we walk over and like get like we can peek back down the hill because it was a little divot. We couldn't really see what's right beneath us, and it was a mama bear with like three 2-year-old cubs. So I don't know if it was the cubs growling at one another, or if the cubs pissed off mama, or what it was, because one of them wasn't happy. It was like a wild way to wake up to that big old guttural gal. Um, and then so there's the sound three cubs, and then about a mile across the flat, I can see this big bear eating the salmon. Right, like, dude, we're gonna go kill that bear. That's a big bear. But like, we gotta let Mama get out of the way because we don't want to fight her. So Mama takes forever, and the cubs take forever to finally walk out of our scent cone. So like, she's no longer like a big worry. She's on down the river. And the big bear is still there. Like, okay, we can go for it now because we sat up on the side of that hill for like 45 minutes. Like, come on, bear. So we book it over there. We getting over there. We getting set up for the shot, and then the bear turns around and walks off. So all we have is a Texas hot shot, right up the ass. Not taking that shot. It's a bad idea. We want a clean shot. We're not gonna take that shot. So we watch him walk away. Like, damn it, mother f, whatever. You get pissed like when things don't work out. So like we went back. We ended up coming like 15 yards from this old sow. That was just like right there. She came out to catch a fish. So it was kind of because it was all grassy. We were kind of in the grass, like looking at it, and just like right there. So that was a cool close encounter. And then we went around and we seen another bear fishing that looked big at first glance, and then we ended up getting close, and it was too small to kill. It wasn't like that big old bear. And that was fun because it walked right underneath us at about 20 yards, walked around, we watched it fish and kind of mess around, and then it ended up coming back around. And where we sat at, the little pathway we walked up to get up on the hill to see it, it decided to walk up that same pathway. So, like, I got my gun loaded and ready to go, like, hoping it, like, because I kind of want to see what happens a bit. Um, and it gets like 70 yards from us, and then finally it stops shit and then takes off because this is a great there. So it's fun because this hunt had a lot of close bear encounters. So we ended up going up and like, hey, let's go back up to camp because camp's only like 3/4 of a mile. We just got to wrap around and go up again. So we go back to camp and we eating, like some food, like a little sandwich or something, and then we see this big bear coming back to get its fish. So we make a go down there. We get set up, and we ended up taking that really big bear. So that was awesome. And yeah, so it's a ton of fun because that's what bear hunting's like. You don't know what's gonna happen. You got to be careful, right? Because if we would have, why we didn't, we could have honestly probably could have killed that bear with the Texas hot shot. But here's the thing: is A, you have respect for the animal, and that's not a clean shot. And B, if it doesn't kill that bear, guess who's got to go in there and track it? And that's me. So if that's not a clean shot, and I got to track that thing up into autos, that thing can kill me. Like that. It's a 1,200-pound animal that's got huge claws and big teeth. It crushed my skull like nothing. So you got to be on your game. You can't make stupid decisions like, yeah, shoot that bear. He's only 80 yards away. I'll put it in his ass. Like, no, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna wait, and hopefully he comes back. If not, we'll keep hunting and find a different bear. Because if you do make a big f up, it can cost yourself either getting mauled or getting killed, or could do the same thing to the person that's hunting with you. So it's and then sleeping, like you end up. It's kind of funny because I never realized it until I have like some camera guys come with me every now and then, and I have a 4-person tent I usually take with me on hunts. And like you're trying to sleep and the cameraman keeps waking you up. You hear a noise. It's nothing. Go back to bed. Wakes you up again. I hear a noise. It's nothing. Go back to bed. And and this is like a 10-day trip, right? And like on day 7, I hear a noise. Wake up. That noise, because you hear everything, right? Like that noise. That's a bear. The cameraman is just sleeping away. I think that's a bear. And you hear a little faint noise. Like, yep, that's a bear. Hey, Jordan, wake up, wake up. He's like, what? I was like, there's a bear out there. He's like, I don't hear anything. Listen, you hear a little faint noise. He's like, are you sure that's a bear? I'm like, positive. Sure enough, it's a bear. It's a bear trying to cover the camp. So we ended up getting up and, chasing it off, making a big fire, making a bunch of noise because it was late on the season. So the salmon were already gone. So it was
Mm.
probably a juvenile bear trying to come in and get our food. But it's kind of funny because you end up developing the longer you stay out there, subconsciously or something, your brain categorizes noises. So like a stick might fall from the tree and smack, and it was waking the camera guy up, like, oh my gosh, because his brain hasn't categorized that noise. Well, I'm like, it's freaking nothing. That noise is a stick falling. Versus like you hear a faint guttural growl that's still 200 yards away, that's a bear. Your brain automatically is like, oh, time to wake up.
Is
Uh,
there any way to set up like an early warning type of system around camp?
you could, but that'd be pretty wild. I mean, if you wanted to, I guess. It's just a lot of like strings and bells to carry with you. You know what I mean? You could put a bear fence around. I don't know if bear fences work or not. I've used them a little bit, but not a ton. I think if a bear really wants to get into your stuff, I don't know how much it's gonna help. But yeah, you can do bear fence stuff. We usually don't do bear fences, especially in the backpack hunts, right? Because how are you gonna like you all your stuff to live is in a backpack, and you may hike, 50, 60 miles in a 10-day period. And so I'm for sure not lugging around a fence in a car battery. You know what I mean? So it's just it all depends on the hunt you're doing.
Sure. Okay. And then as far as like the most uh like just the wildest bear encounter you've ever had, like was there ever a time where you're like, holy shit, I might not walk away from this one?
Yeah, I mean, there's been several like bear encounters, like brother, it could go either way. One that is one of my favorite ones to tell though is I'm walking on this ridge and uh Mark, the hunter sits down for a minute. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna walk about 200-300 yards on down and look over this deal and see if I see anything. So I'm getting close to that little deal because in the mountains how there's those little humps and you can't see past that till you get to it. So I'm probably about 150 yards from Mark, roughly. And all of a sudden I hear this rock tumble. So I automatically rack around because you don't know what it is. And it's these two caribou and a little baby caribou, so 3 caribou total, run right by me, like 10 yards away, and they look at me like, you're about to get fucked up. And they just keep on trucking. Like, they don't care about me. Run past me, run around, run past Mark. They gone. I'm like, something's happening. So I start backpedaling because where that lip was, where the caribou came over, um, you know how it is in the mountains, how you just can't see what's on the other side of that divot when it goes downhill. So I
Yeah.
start to do what kind of like how a boxer would go backwards, right? You lift your back foot forwards and you step back and you just continue to do that. So I have a few seconds and I do that, and it gives me about uh probably about 20 yards cushion now, 25 yards cushion from whatever's coming that I can't see. So I'm like, it's either going to be a wolf or it's going to be a bear. Here comes this 8-foot brown bear that was chasing that caribou, and I'm kind of crouched down a little bit. Funny enough, I have Fio Raven pants on, so I have my phone right there. So I actually pull my phone out with my left hand and I'm videoing. So I can send you this video. I have this video. Uh, and I'm hoping because I'm about 20 yards from where the caribou went by. I'm hoping that the bear just keeps chasing the caribou and probably catches that baby one. But it does it. It sees me right away. I'm like, damn it. So I stand up and I start yelling at the bear. Hey bear, go on. Hey bear, go. Because usually you yell at them that way and I figure out this is different and they go away. That's 99% of what happens of the time. Well, that bear's in kill mode, right? It looks at me it's like that looks like a slow freaking ass caribou. And you just see it shift its weight. Like it shifted right. I dropped the phone because when it shifted its weight, that was it's coming. And it's just coming at me. So I pull my gun up and I have it like I mean it seemed like I had a ton of time, but I didn't. It was just everything kind of slows down. I feel like in those moments, even though it doesn't. I pull my gun up, I have it on it, and then I pull the crosshairs because it's coming up here at me. I pull the crosshairs down and shoot it right in front of its face, so that bullet hits the rock or frags up in its face. So it stops, spins around, and runs away. Looking back, I should have dumped it because if it didn't do that, the next shot would have either been at my feet or would have ran through me, and then hopefully I hanged on to the rifle to shoot it again. Because usually that's what happens, right? They run through you and then they circle back to maul you because
Mm.
they run at 35 miles an hour. It's not like they stop and then grab you. It's just like they hit you and then they come back around. So, anyways, it flips around, runs off. I pick the phone back up. I'm like, shit. You can see it like going off in the distance, and like, holy shit. And then like literally, I was calm during like when it happened, but I felt like such a sissy like probably about a minute after it happened because I was going to top my gun back off, right? Because I'm using a 375, so I only carry three underneath, and I don't want to just have two underneath. I always top my gun off after I'm done using it. And I'm like, why is my finger shaking, you freaking sissy? And I finally get it in there, but it was just kind of funny because there's that adrenaline dump that happened, right? Because that bear was coming to try to eat me, eat my lunch. Um,
You
Luckily
were
it didn't
lunch.
happen. Yeah, exactly. I was lunch. So but it was funny because that was the first time that was 2021, 2020, 2021. That was the first time I really had like a super heavy adrenaline dump. And it was fun to get that interesting to get those a little bit of shakes. It wasn't like I wasn't like, oh my goodness, just enough like, wow, my fingers are like not like steady as usual. So then, load my gun back up, went back to Mark, and Mark was like, "Holy crap!" He's like, and then he tried to give me a job because he was like, "You handle stress insanely well," because I just about got ate by a bear, and I'm just like cracking a joke, like well, a minute and a half, 2 minutes later, however long it took me to hike back up to him. I was like, that was wild.
Oh
That was
man.
a fun story. I'll send you that video. I have it on this phone somewhere.
Yeah, heck yeah, that'd be great. Um, man, I've got two questions left for you.
Okay.
First off, if anybody wants to learn more about Caleb Stillians Outfitter Services, where can they find you?
Yeah, if you just type my name in on Google, it should pop up all the stuff. And if you just type in Outfitter Services, it'll pop up the app and then the website. So my name is Caleb with a C, and then Stillians is a bit difficult. It's Stillians. And it'll pull up the website and all that jazz and the Instagrams.
Sounds good, man. And then my last question. If you could give anybody, like, if you could boil down all your experience into one piece of, like, they're just your ultimate survival wisdom and pass that along to the audience, what would
For
that
sure.
be?
I mean, what is it? The seven P's, right? It's just like if you go into a situation prepared and you have the training and you have all the stuff. Like I shot. Let's just use that bear story for example, right? I've shot thousands of rounds to my rifle, right? I also for training will go out and I will sprint a mile, do burpees, and then grab my gun and shoot. So it's like I'm used to shooting at an elevated heart rate. Um, so if I didn't do any of that, and that was the first time, say I've only shot that rifle 20 times, and haven't practiced in that way, that barrel could have got me, because who knows if I would have had the reps under my belt to shoulder that rifle so fast and get that going, because it literally, it's seconds, right? Because the barrel runs 35 miles an hour, so it doesn't take it long to go from 25 yards away to right in front of me. So whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's mountaineering, whether it's shooting, CCW, if you don't, you got to get rid of your ego, right? Ego will kill you 100%. Because if you're in the backcountry, it doesn't give a shit who you are, what you think about yourself. If you mess up bad enough, it's going to kill you. So you got to get rid of that ego, and prepare yourself beforehand before you get out there. So just if you say go into a rainforest, make sure you have plenty of rain gear, all that stuff. If you're in a place where you need to have a gun, make sure you have a gun and is proficient for it. So it all comes back to not over planning, because you don't want to be someone that just ends up procrastinating, planning too much, but you need to be prepared ahead of time for whatever that situation is. So I'm just gonna say, if you're going on a hunt in Alaska, make sure you're in shape. Uh, be able to run a mile without dying, be able to climb stairs without dying, and then know your weapons proficiently, and then make sure you have the right rain gear, the right puffy clothes. Not This is not me trying to make myself sound cool, but I am in some of the most rugged places in Alaska. Probably the most rugged.
Objectively, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, well, so it's probably the most rugged places in the world, right? Because Alaska is a pretty badass state. Uh, and I've never had a situation where I'm like, I'm gonna die when it comes to like exposure and stuff like that. Because if you don't put yourself in that situation, because you have the tools in your toolbox and you have everything that you need, then you you're good to go, right? It's like it might be raining and 33 degrees. Well, yeah, if I go walking in this fog without my gear and get lost, I might die. Hey, it's foggy. We'll set up camp. It's 33 degrees. Let's go ahead and get on a sleeping bag. Like if you have the stuff that you need, uh, and don't make silly decisions, you probably won't ever find yourself in that holy cow, I'm about to die scenario. Um, so that would be my biggest advice: is know what tools you need and know how to use them.
Sounds good, man. Well, Caleb, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and sharing with us your experience and wisdom. It sounds pretty incredible, man. I'd have you back anytime.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure talking to you, and I'm glad we bumped into one another in Montana a couple years back.